Welcome to Nomad Media Automotive Tales, where we tell vehicle stories, a little bit of history, and some unique and personal experiences. Let's get right into it. Welcome back to another episode, and today we're back again with Tom Ayres, and this time we're here to talk about his 1973 AMC Javelin. Man, these are some rare cars. Like, I don't see many AMCs out and about ever, and it's funny, like, because I didn't know this was your car, and I met you. You told me this, all right, and it was like I had met you or seen this car, what, 2 years ago, I think, at the Coleman show?
Right.
At the Coleman show, and you saw it in my video, which I'll try to link it down in the description here so anyone else can see what was going on there.
Right.
But, you know, like, this is a rare car. Like, AMCs are not the most common thing you come across. They're like some of these other old cars, but the AMC, I think they went out of business in the 80s, right?
Yeah, Chrysler bought them out, and I think Chrysler was actually trying to get a hold of the Jeep lineup. That's why they were after AMC.
Okay, yeah, so it was like they went out of business in the 80s, so it's like they're not very well known by a lot of people unless you're already in this world, you know, like we are. But man, let me just go on and hand it off to you instead of me rambling on here, and let's get into the story of this car.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, like you said, they are a rare breed. They even when I was growing up, I didn't see many of them, and I can't remember ever seeing one that anybody owned in my hometown. So, but how this one disrupted my life was I have a buddy that called me one day, and he said, I've got this 71 Challenger that's the most rust-free body that I've ever seen. He said it's a 318 car, but it's nice. And so I said, okay, well, I'll come over and take a look at it. So one day I went over there, and as I was driving up, he had this 73 and another 73 behind it. And this one had been restored, but had been wrecked. And it needed both front fenders, a grill, a hood, and it'd been sitting outside, and so the paint was a little faded, but the color scheme just drew me in.
I mean, it's a really nice color, too.
Yeah, it just, so I looked at the Challenger, and I just kept getting drawn back to this car. And so I started talking to him about, well, I'm really interested in this one. He said, well, if you're going to buy this one, you're going to have to buy both of them because it's a package deal. And I thought, well, okay, I can understand why you'd want to sell both of them because, you know, you got the parts here to put on this one and you don't have to hunt them down.
Yeah.
So
what are you going to do with another AMC if it's not running already?
Well, actually, both of them were running. This one had a hole in the radiator, but you could crank it up and drive it around.
Let me rephrase that then. What are you going to do with another AMC that's not perfect?
Yeah, okay. Well, you always need two cars at least when you're restoring one, right? One for parts and one to restore. But anyway, he and I were able to work out a deal. I had a 71 Datsun 240Z at the time that needed to be restored. It was in pieces. It was a basket case. And he liked 240Zs, so we were able to strike up a deal, and I paid him a little boot, and ended up with two Javelins.
Now, you might have already said this, but what year was this? Like, how long ago was this?
This was probably, good question. 2020 was the COVID issue.
Coming in with a hard-hitting question.
Yeah, it was like 2017,
Okay.
somewhere around that neighborhood. 2015 maybe, somewhere around, maybe in 2015, somewhere around in that neighborhood.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I mean, if you had a 240Z then, I was thinking like, you know, the 240Z back in the day you were talking about, like that was also a rare car in its own right, you know, and if this was back in the 80s, you know, not so bad of a trade, you know, and then coming up in 2017, I'm like, okay, that's pretty even trade right there, you know.
Yeah, we were, but I was getting two, so You know,
Yeah.
I had to give them a little boot, you know.
Right, right. I mean, equivalence though
Yeah. Oh,
is
yeah, yeah,
there. Like,
yeah.
you know, back in the day, not so much, and or a little bit different. I think AMC wasn't as popular, you know. So, or at
Right.
least I don't think it was, from what I understand. You
Yeah.
know, didn't live then, so it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
yeah,
But once we struck a deal and I got it home, I started looking for parts, and he had a lot of documentation with the car too, from one of the previous owners. So going through the history on this, we were able to determine that it had been wrecked previously, and it was a front end collision also.
oh man,
So knowing this is the second time, that was telling me that the brakes were marginal, and it had drum brakes all the way around, manual drum brakes, and so I could see, you know, how that would be an issue, if you, especially if you don't a smaller drum brake, they just don't stop like the larger drum brakes.
oh I know all about that,
Yeah,
man. Like, but I'm glad you. So you did go to this.
disc. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
I was able to find another car, that parts car the gentleman was parting out, that had the power front disc brakes. So I was able to get the spindles and the brackets for the calipers and calipers, you know,
Yeah.
as cores, and get the master cylinder brackets and the power brake booster and all.
That's great. So you got all the matching parts then
Yeah,
too.
so it's all
That's
AMC
wonderful.
on the brake end, and we had a issue with the roof. The roof skin, of course, when they manufactured these cars, they did not. They just had primer on the metal, and
Okay.
then they put the vinyl tops on top of them. And this one had looked like Swiss cheese. I mean, it was
Oh
just
goodness.
it was bad. So I was able to find another roof out west, and the gentleman I was working with on getting the roof told me that he could ship that roof skin the roof in the belly of a Greyhound bus if we keep it down below a certain dimension.
Yeah.
So we were taking measurements, and I was telling him about what size I needed, and we were able to keep it under the size requirements that Greyhound limited it to, and we were able to ship it to me from out west for $80.
Oh man, you got it cheap then.
Yeah,
Like
we got a deal.
this day, like shipping a roof, you'd be easily in the thousands probably,
Right, and waiting months for it too.
and then get here damaged.
Yeah,
Of course.
yeah, that's true. Well, we got that squared away. Then I was working on trying to find a motor for it. It had a 304 two-barrel on it, and I really wanted the 401. And in order to get the 401, the cores were like $2,000, and no guarantees that they were going to be a good core. So I didn't really want to pay that much money and not know that I was going to have a good engine. And I knew that I could get an AMC 360 for a reasonable amount of money, and have all the power that I need.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I went ahead and bought a 360, and I usually have a machine shop do my machine work, and then I build the motors. But this one, I went ahead and I had a buddy that had a machine shop, and I just went ahead and let him build a motor for me. I was on the road quite a bit, and had a lot on my plate where I didn't know when I'd be able to get to it. So I figured, well, I'll just go ahead and let him build it for me. And so we started from the bottom and went with a Canton road racing oil pan, and we went with K1 rods and hyper-eutectic pistons, and then with Eldenbrock heads and a comp high energy cam, and the Eldenbrock air gap intake and a set of hooker headers, and
So you got you a pretty built engine here for the
yeah,
sound like.
yeah, it's a good street motor. Yeah, and that's what I wanted. I wanted something that's streetable, but if I need to get out of town in a hurry, I can get out of town in a hurry. So he was building the motor, and meanwhile, I can't do paint and body work. So my buddies that have been doing my paint and body work, they took the car and stripped it down, fixed all the rust, and they were able to drill out the spot welds on the roof. As it happened, the main structure of the roof was good, so they didn't have to cut anything and try to realign for the windshield and all.
That's good.
So they were able to spot weld it back in, and when they painted it, they painted the roof, and I felt bad about putting a vinyl top on it. It looked so good, but I wanted the vinyl top back on it.
What'd they think about all the curves on this car? This thing's got more curves than the Ocean does during windy
Yeah,
season.
yeah. Well, the gentleman that did the paint work on it actually restored a '69 AMX that he had, so he was pretty familiar with
So you had
the
the
AMC.
man. You
Yeah,
got a guy that knew what he was doing then. Okay.
right, right.
We definitely did a banger of a job, man.
Yeah, yeah, and he was working on that. I was still trying to get parts together for him. I wanted this is a factory air car, but the air conditioning systems on the AMC on this Javelin, it was almost like it was a modular system. Like, if you ordered air conditioning, then you had this little shelf that they went to, and they pulled all this, and it was separate from the. It was like an add-on box to the heater box, and the air conditioning lines were on the opposite side of the firewall. So we were able to. I just didn't think I was going to be able to find all the parts I needed to make it work. So I went ahead and got a vintage air catalog, or got online and started ordering parts off them, and put together a kit to put on this car. And it turned out fairly well. It works. We're able to use the original outlets, so it looks like it's a factory air car.
That's more than what a lot of people can say, man. Because it's like, even for myself, my car came with AC and it's already converted,
Yeah.
and it still doesn't work. And I've had it for 2 years. I've just been, put it on the wayside. It'll
Yeah.
get done eventually.
Yeah. Well, and the surprising part about it is the controller actually fits where the original controller was, and it looks like it's supposed to be there. So it's not, it's not a cobbled up
That's awesome.
mess. So yeah, I was real pleased the way that turned out. And I was working on the interior once we got it back, and putting everything back together. And one of the interesting notes on the manufacturing standpoint was the headliner. They don't have the typical bows and fabric headliners like most of the cars that we're used to working on. It's got a one-piece fiber board, basically, with
Okay.
with fabric over it. It's you just slide it in, insert it into the roof there, and then you got all your molding that holds it in place.
That's a lot like the modern cars these days. I mean, they're not cardboard or anything like that. They're like, but it all goes in one piece now.
Right.
So that's very similar. So that means AMC they were on up there in technology, I
yeah,
guess,
they
or
were
at least
looking-
in manufacturing process.
That's it. Yeah, they were trying to streamline manufacturing. It's less man hours. So
Yep.
less man hours means more money for them.
More money.
More profit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got the interior done and got it running and driving, and I guess I was going to jump back to that second Javelin.
Yeah.
That sort of ties back to why I restored this one versus the second one. The second one was a unique car also, from the fact that if you're an AMC fan, you'll know that they won the Trans Am Series with the Penske team in '71 and '72. And AMC was wanting to celebrate those wins, so they came out with a victory celebration option for the '73 Javelin. And part of that option was decals and different wheels, and there was a few other small things that they did that it was just add-on basically. And there wasn't any kind of number that was assigned to the ID pad or anything that would identify it as a Trans Am Victory celebration car. other than the fact that this one had real faded stickers on it that looked like, you know, it'd been on there for ever since day one. And but the car didn't have a vinyl top, and that's what drew me to this one. Is this the vinyl top is the way it's got more of a swoopy look. When they designed it, they had it going all the way out and down the whole quarter here.
Yeah, and I mentioned to you, like, as soon as I pulled up, like, that was something that I was really looking at here, because I'm like, that's neat right there, how it goes all the way back to basically the tail end.
Correct.
And it's like, you know, y'all be seeing this, you know, in pictures, but like on the back side of this, like, the vinyl top doesn't actually go to the back windshield. It's like painted around the windshield, so it's a really unique top on it. Like, it more so than just that. That's what I noticed, was that tip way down there. But you
Yeah.
know, then I look at it and I'm like, man, it doesn't have it on the back. You look at any Charger like mine or something with a vinyl top, and it's molded all the way to the windshield.
Correct.
So it's unique. That's a cool top. Like,
Yeah, and it actually breaks this
interesting.
quarter up a little bit too. You know, if you had, and the second one, the gold colored one, it did not have a vinyl top, and it just, to me, it needed a vinyl top to
Yeah.
break that quarter up.
Right. It's interesting that that car could have been one of those, you know,
Victory celebration
victory
cars.
celebration cars. Too bad they didn't number them or something, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it would have been
Put a plaque in them or something.
Yeah, yeah, some sort of way of, or just putting a decal or something in the door that, you know,
Something
to identify
like-
it as a special car.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting it running and driving, and sold it and used that money to help pay for the parts of this car, the restoration work of it, and that's that's what I enjoy is seeing these come back to life to their former glory. It's fun to do, and then it's also fun to me. It's fun to meet different people whenever I go hunting for parts. You hear all kinds of stories, and you meet all kinds of different people too, and plus you get to see a lot of the countryside too, areas that you probably never would go to that you will go to get parts.
Oh yeah, just like you know, you'd be like basically getting these stories that I like to get here, but you're getting them
Right.
what is it, naturally.
Right,
You know, it's
right.
like how'd you come across a AMC's hood or
Right.
an AMX hood? You said, or an fender. Like, why do you have this
Yeah.
and not the rest of the car?
Well, yeah, and I've been known to buy parts for cars I don't own. So, don't own yet, but
Good
yeah,
wall art until you own it.
that's
you know,
it. Yeah.
perfect wall art.
Well, it's getting to the point where it's not a bad investment. You know, you can always get your money back.
Yeah.
Then they're getting harder and harder to find. So we got it restored, had it running and driving. We had our property that we owned. We were planning on selling. We ended up selling it and bought this property here. And I had to move my cars, so this one, like I say, was running and driving. I'd already driven it down and then parked it and had it in the shop here. And of course, I did some stupid things, and this is one of the stupider things that I've done in my life. Cutting corners. We had moved like 3 cars that day, and it was hot. Man, it was hot and humid. And I was tired. My wife was tired, and she'd been helping me. And we had gotten down to the last car, and I didn't have a winch on the trailer that I was using. It was a rental trailer, so I was having to use my hand winch to do that. And we were getting ready to unload it, and I normally put some sort of something behind the wheels of the car that I'm unloading in case it does get away from me. And in this particular case, I did not. And it got to the point where the back wheels were on the ramps coming down, but the front wheels were still caught behind a bar where I was going to have to push them to get it to come over the bar.
Right.
So, like I say, I was in a hurry, didn't put the stop behind the wheel, and I let some slack out on my come along, and gave her a shove, and she took off, and as it reached to the end of the slack of the come along, the wire cable broke, and the cable goes flying by my head, and the
Ooh.
car goes flying down the ramp, and all you can do is just stand there and look and think, oh no. And I was watching her go straight to the front fender of the Javelin.
Oh goodness.
So here we go
Bird.
again, another front end collision.
This thing has a troubled past, man, with
Yeah.
the front end.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yes.
you even had the brakes on it to prevent it this time.
Yeah, it's a real bruiser.
Oh goodness.
So anyway, we ended up having to go back on searching for another front fender. This was during the COVID time when shipping was a nightmare. Everything was an uproar. Finally found a fender in California. It took forever to get it crated and shipped, but it was crated super good. It came in truck freight, no problems. Brought it back to
Goodness.
my buddies, and they fixed me up, painted it to match, and you really can't tell there's any damage to her now. So it's a unique driving, fun driving vehicle.
Oh yeah.
I don't know of any other stories to tell you right off.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, let me ask you one more question then, man.
Okay.
What was the first drive like once you got it on the road?
Nerve-wracking. You're always worried about something going wrong. You're listening for some sort of knock, any kind of knock, or some weird noise, and your sense of smell is at heightened awareness. You're trying to smell any weird smells, and you're looking for smoke. You're watching your gauges, so you're on pins and needles. So it's not a real pleasant. Plus, you're trying to drive and keep it on the road, so it's just not real pleasant the first drive. But of course, the more you drive it, the more relaxed you get with it, more confidence you build in it.
Right.
And we
You're fine.
so we more confidence you build in it, and the more relaxed you get with her. So I'm getting more and more relaxed. So it's getting to be more and more fun to drive her, take her out on the road.
Right.
Of course, you never leave home without your tools.
Yeah, keep them all in the back just in case.
Always keep a bag of tools with you because you never know. But that's one of the advantages of having an older car is
You can actually work on them.
you can work on them. You don't have to have a parts bin of all the different modules to switch and swap to try to get her operating again.
Right.
So yeah, it's not bad.
Well, man, that's awesome. How about we get into hearing this car run?
Okay.
And there you have it, folks. Tom Ayres and his 1973 AMC Javelin. Man, this is a cool car. Like, it's wild how you found two of them at the same time. Like, you said 2017 roughly. It's like, as long as these cars have been off the road, finding one I feel like is an accomplishment. But you find two, and then one of them is potentially a a racing championship car or a celebration car.
Celebration car.
Like that,
correct.
that's even more wild right there. Too bad you can't prove it in any way, which, you know, anyone out there is going to understand. Like, you know, in the car world at least, they'll understand. Like, you can't really just, if you can't prove it, you can't just say, oh yeah, this was one. But it's neat that it could have been.
Right.
You know, but that's so cool. And like, is there anything you'd like to tell anybody that might be watching out there?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a hobby that it's trying at times, but it has its rewards. And that's, like I said, one of the things that I enjoy is seeing these being brought back to their former glory.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad to see the younger generation like yourself take an interest in these,
Yeah.
because I would like to see it passed down to somebody that would appreciate it and be a good caretaker after I'm gone.
Definitely. Well, hopefully that's your kids.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be someone like me. It doesn't have to be me, even though I will gladly take it. But it's like, hopefully it's your kids.
Right, right.
Man, Tom, thank you so much for talking to me again. I greatly appreciate it. Let me shake your hand here. You know, I greatly appreciate your time. But with that, we're going to get out of here. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
I'll see you at the next car show, okay?
And there you have it, folks. Be sure you like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.